Mow it in. I'm going my way of the yard. They was right here, they got which side the meal is very expensive. I don't want to get down to the curse it.
I've been there, but, you know, you can ride the horses with mules or whatever.
I walk down to the water park and I said, I'm out of here. I can make it down that high.
I was on a vacation from out here and stuff.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have 5:30. Go ahead and call the regularly scheduled quorum court meeting for Thursday, June 6, 2024 to order. I ask you to please stand for a prayer by Justice Mary Metz Blaylock and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let us pray. Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for all the blessings that you give to us. We thank you for this day. We thank you, Lord, for the freedoms that we enjoy. We pray, Lord, that as we go through our meeting tonight, that you will give us wisdom and discernment. Help us to listen and to hear and to understand the information that's brought before us. We pray, Lord, that we make the best decisions for our county. We pray, Lord, for those that serve, that protect, both here and abroad. It's in our most precious heavenly, our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. I remind the court to please pull your mics down so you can be heard. This time I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Aaron Carruthers. Alan George.
Here.
Philip Haney.
Here.
Jackie Heflin.
Here.
David Ivey.
Here.
Mary Metz Blaylock.
Here.
Margaret Motley.
Here.
Lane Scott.
Here.
Jordan Sowers.
Here.
Bill Sparks.
Here.
Blake Tarpley.
Here.
Tim Wittenberg.
Here.
Ronnie Wilbanks.
Recognize the presence of a quorum. Should have had a journal of proceedings as emailed out. Is there any discussion or questions?
Motion to accept is read.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Scott? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Committee reports. Personnel Committee, Justice Heflin.
Yes, we met and we had 2 items there, and I think we see both of those items that showed up tonight. So
Thank you, sir.
it was a brief meeting.
Budget Committee, Justice George.
Yes, Judge, we had 3 items, one more than Jackie, but all 3 made it to the full court for this evening's consideration.
Thank you, sir. Under correspondence, speaking of Justice George, you should have all received his letter where he's indicated that he will resign his position at the end of the month. And I personally want to thank you for what has been an honor to serve with you. And as budget chair, you have done a phenomenal job. And I frankly am going to hate to lose you.
I appreciate that.
And I hope to see you back in the near future.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words, Judge. I know been times we haven't always seen eye to eye, but overall, I think we've had a good working relationship, and I'm going to miss serving on the court. Hopefully, it's for a short time. We'll see how it goes. I am moving. I'm staying in Russellville, staying in the county, but moving slightly out of my district, which is why I need to resign the position. But along with the Judge Cross and the elected officials, the county employees, and members of the court, I appreciate the respect, the relationships, the interactions we've had over the years, and maybe someday I can come back soon. We'll see.
Look forward to it.
Thank you.
With that nickname on the new flag.
Yeah.
Justice Ivey.
I'm just curious, so we declare a vacancy next month, what's the process?
So the process is, because it's kind of unique in this situation, by law, the governor will appoint a replacement of the rest of his current term. And so we'll declare a vacancy at July's meeting, and then we'll seek an appointment to that position, but it will only be for 5 months. And the way the law is written, when you're an unopposed candidate for the next term, then the Polk County Republican Party Committee, because he was unopposed, is an unopposed challenger, will then accept nominations at their monthly meeting from members of the public who wish to represent District 10, and then the committee will select from the nominations, and the committee will then take their nomination, submit it to the county clerk, who will then give it to the election commission to put on the ballot for November as an unopposed candidate. And then that person is eligible for re-election time and again. So we'll have and I've had some suggestions from Justice George on his replacement, and I'm definitely considerate of that request, and hopefully the court will support that measure. We'll talk about that in July. But the other one, you know, if you're a resident of District 10, you can find it on our website, see the district boundaries, and you would need to make your solicitations known to Mr. Dustin Morphus, and he will present that to the committee. So.
Yeah, that really tough, because first two times I had an opponent. This time I was going to get to just cruise on in. But anyway.
I had to give you one of mine.
Other correspondence, what's become a monthly event. We received another inmate federal lawsuit. As you're aware, inmates can file in the federal system without representation, so these have become really recurrent. And so we were notified May 29th of another one. Make the court aware of that. And then the final thing you should have received by email, but I also asked the clerk to give you hard copies of a correspondence issued by Churchill Downs today and received by my office and the clerk and the members. We have printed off, should be some for the public back there, and let the record reflect that that correspondence was received and announced in open court as correspondence received by the county officials.
Is that in our box?
Yes.
Yep.
And there is one for the public.
Yes, there's some down there at the end of the media table.
All right, so that handles all the correspondence issues. Tonight's comments from the public on agenda items, relatively small. And first is Dover Mayor Roger Lee speaking on item agenda number 8. Call on Mayor Lee.
Thank you. I'd like to share with the court tonight a letter that was dated May 14th of this year. It is addressed to the Arkansas Racing Commission, and it says, "We, the mayors of Polk County, would like to express our support for Cherokee Nation Entertainment and their plans to build Legends Resort and Casino, Arkansas. Sitting Polk County Judge Ben Cross has done a remarkable job vetting all potential casino operators throughout this entire process." And I will add that he did include the mayors in that process. As a result, Judge Cross has written an exclusive letter of support, which is required by Amendment 100, and the Quorum Court has approved a resolution in support of CNE. Each of our respective communities would greatly benefit from the tax revenue and jobs this casino resort will create, and would also directly benefit from the standing economic development agreement established with the county. We very much look forward to bringing this to a close and realizing the economic impact afforded to Polk County in 2018. This letter was signed by the mayor of Pottsville, the mayor of Hector, the mayor of London, myself, the mayor of Dover, and the mayor of Atkins. As I said, it went out last month. With that, I want to add one thing. In the beginning of this process, I actually thought there were two viable operators, Gulfside and Legends. As time has went on, my opinion is that Gulfside is not a viable option. The reason is there's an old saying that we've all heard, probably for all of our life, that actions speak louder than words. That simply means that what you do is more important and shows your intentions and feelings more clearly than what you say. I ask the court in making any decision on a casino operator to consider their actions in the last 5 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Now I have Mr. Mike Goad speaking on item agenda number 1, 2, and number 8. Mr. Goad.
Wow, just wow. Everything in Gulfside's presentation is more and better and bigger and unparalleled. In 2020, Gulfside promised 500 rooms. 900 by year 5. Now it's 300. Which is it? Will the project be built in phases? That was the plan last time until it changed on June 18th, 2020 without amending the application. Is this really what would be built? The project presented on June 18th, 2020 wasn't the same as the application they had submitted. How will this project be paid for? Was Green or Carter a VP or president of a company that declared bankruptcy? Was Copa Casino unable to get a license in 1993 while Carter and Green were involved? The first resolution of support for CNB was passed in this room on August 13th, 2019, and many of us were here, 1,760 days ago. 2 days later, Gulfside sued the ARC. Gulfside's litigation tied up the license until the beginning of this year. Will Gulfside sue again? Gulfside wanted to be able to present their world-class resort to county leaders. Well, they're here today. If Gulfside sues again after getting that chance and not getting the resolution, it will be likely be viewed as petty vindictiveness.
30 seconds, Mr. Goode.
Justice Scott may be supporting this proposal because his second choice seems to be anyone but Cherokee. Tribal sovereignty can only exist on federally recognized tribal lands, of which there are none in Arkansas. I trust Chuck Garrett. I trust Mark Fulton. I trust all of the legends and Cherokee people I have dealt with, including their attorneys and lobbyists. I do not trust Gulfside or Cherokee or their lobbyists. I don't think you should either.
Thank you, sir. All right, that was all the public comments for tonight on the agenda items. We'll move on into unfinished business. I have none. Under new business, I'll preface this with I've met with representation of both presentations under agenda items 1 and 2, and they have both agreed to a format of up to 20 minutes of presentation and 10 minutes of Q&A. And so I'll ask that each respect that. And Mr. Castleberry, the floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Judge Cross. Good afternoon, Judge Cross, members of the court, and the public. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to appear before you today and speak to you on the proposal that Gulfside has to make. I'm joined today by Terry Green, one of the owners of Gulfside Casino Partnership, and Jonathan Terrell, also with Gulfside. Before I begin my remarks, I just would like to observe that today's June 6th, D-Day, and on behalf of Gulfside and everyone else in this room, I'm sure I want to express our gratitude and appreciation for all those who have served, and especially those who served on June 6th, 80 years ago, and made the sacrifices that allow us to be free today.
Thank you.
I've placed before each of y'all a book that outlines the proposal that we intend to offer to you and what we want to do in Polk County. There is also before you an economic development agreement that Gulfside proposes to enter into with the county. And so I think the cleanest way to make this presentation is to just kind of go through those documents and show you what it is that we intend to do. As I said, the book summarizes our vision and our plan for Polk County. On page 11, our proposal for the gaming and entertainment resort casino that we intend to bring to Polk County is laid out. It will include 70,000 square feet of gaming space, 1,500 state-of-the-art slot machines, 50 table games, a dedicated sports betting area, as well as multiple live music and entertainment venues. On page 16, it lists the amenities that our casino resort will bring to Polk County, including a $405 million investment, 300 luxury hotel rooms, a fine dining steakhouse, a casino, lounge, and club, a 24-hour cafe, an outdoor amphitheater and entertainment area, a resort pool and cabanas, a luxury spa, a fitness center, and a convention center with meeting spaces. We're extremely excited about the vision of what we intend to bring here, and we think that it will be a resort that will attract people from a wide geographic area not just from Arkansas, but from Arkansas and all the surrounding states as well. On page 21, we lay out the economic impact that we expect our casino resort to have on the area, including almost 1,700 good jobs and a payroll in excess of $60 million. On page 22, we have our expected tax revenue. The casino gaming tax alone that we project is almost $30 million per year. As you may have seen in the press, it's not in our book, but we are also excited about our location. We have acquired options on property near Interstate 40 and the lake. It's just a beautiful piece of property where we think the casino will provide an attraction for not only this area, but again, the entire region. We have property under option sufficient to build our casino. We've got enough property to build as big a casino as anyone would want. We Googled it the other day, and I think the largest casino in the world by gaming space sits on a piece of property that's only 6 acres. So we've got more than enough land to do everything that we would need to do. But we would like more land in that area. And in connection with that, we have been in discussions with the city and have looked at the city's 20 acres that also sit adjacent to the property that we already have under option. We think that acquiring that land would do 2 things. First, we think it would make for a beautiful casino site. Second, it would help the city to solve its long-standing issue with respect to a convention center. As I'm sure most of you know much better than I do, the city passed a tax many years ago to fund a convention center, and by the time the tax sunsetted, it had not raised enough money to build the convention center, and so that's kind of been a long-standing, lingering issue for the city. We propose, through our purchase, to help the city get to a place where it can realize that long-standing desire to have a convention center and multi-use facility. So those are the basics of our proposal and what we intend to bring to Polk County. Now let's talk about the Economic Development Agreement. I emailed this to all the members of the court, as well as the county judge and the clerk and council last night. I hope everyone received that and has had a time to review it. It's a 10 or 11 page document, so certainly wanted to give everyone the opportunity to take some time with the document before we present you with it today. This Economic Development Agreement represents an upfront payment of $65 million to Polk County and various communities and other organizations within the county. Nearly $40 million to Polk County alone. It includes $10 million to Russellville, which would be in addition to what we would pay to purchase the land from Russellville that I just mentioned. $5 million to Atkins, over $4.7 million to Pottsville, over $2 million to Dover, over $2 million to London, $1 million to the Crow Mountain Fire Protection District, as well as $2 million annually going forward to Polk County, in addition to other payments that are listed in the agreement. We believe that this agreement represents a significant investment in Polk County and is an offer that frankly is not matched or even approached by any of the other offers that have been made to Polk County thus far. Also, as part of this agreement, you will note that in the agreement, Gulfside agrees to not engage in any efforts to oppose the ballot initiative, which is currently underway. We've looked at that and feel that we should respect the will of the voters. There are local groups that are pushing for that amendment to pass, to remove Polk County from Amendment 100. And so through this document in writing, we vow to not interfere with that, to allow that to go forward, and to respect the will of the people, whatever that may be in November. One other difference between this Economic Development Agreement and the one that is currently in place is that it does not contain any language to make it exclusive. So this court and the county judge are free to offer their support to any other potential applicant that you deem to be worthy of your support. So I believe this is going to be my only opportunity to address you tonight. I know that there are going to be other comments made after I step down, and there have been comments made already. And so I'd like to try to kind of take this opportunity to preempt what I think may be said about us based upon the things that we've heard through the community and our contacts with the community over the last few years. First, these bankruptcies that Mr. Goad mentioned and Gulfside's financial condition. As an initial matter, Gulfside's creditworthiness is not reasonably in question. I have a letter, and I'm happy to share it with anyone who'd like to see it, from Gulfside's banker, Wells Fargo, that says that since 2007, Gulfside has borrowed and paid back over $1 billion in loans, and that they have always been timely in making the payments required under those obligations. So clearly, sophisticated bankers such as Wells Fargo, one of the largest lending institutions in the country, don't see any problem with Gulfside's creditworthiness as they continue to loan Gulfside money, and Gulfside has always paid in accordance with the terms of those loans. Also think it's important to note that all of these issues, all of the bankruptcies, all of the three bankruptcies that we'll talk about in a moment, and Gulfside's financial stability were litigated and brought before the Arkansas Racing Commission 4 years ago in the summer of 2020, and the Racing Commission, in light of all that information, awarded Gulfside the license. So the Racing Commission, after vetting Gulfside and having the opportunity to look into all of Gulfside's finances, we provided the Racing Commission with audited financial reports. We provided them with information that they requested regarding our financial condition. And with all that information, the Racing Commission awarded us the license and had no problems with that part of our application. So as to the details of the bankruptcies, let me go through those really quick. The first bankruptcy was in 1989, so we're talking about 35 years ago, and it was an entity called Carter Red Green, of which Terry Green and Rick Carter owned 5% each. That entity had to file for a Chapter 11 reorganization bankruptcy, and the bankruptcy judge presiding was a judge named Edward Gaines, who is now deceased. But he commented at the conclusion of that case that it was the most successful implementation of a Chapter 11 plan he had ever presided over. Every creditor received 100%, 100 cents on the dollar, of their claim within 1 year of the bankruptcy. The second bankruptcy was in 1991, again 33 years ago. It involved an entity called Pride Cruise Lines. This is another entity that was owned by Cy Red, Terry Green, and Rick Carter. They had moved the casino boat operation to Galveston, Texas, and before they commenced operations, they went to the authorities, to Immigration and Customs, and said, is this going to be okay? Is what we're proposing, where we go out into international water, have a casino, and then come back, going to be okay? And they said yes. In writing, they represented to Terry and Rick and their other partner that this was going to be okay. Well, after a few months or years of successful operation, the government pulled the rug out from under them and said, we have now decided it's not okay, and you have to shut down. I have an order from a federal judge, a lawsuit resulted, and the federal judge said in his written order, which I'll be happy to show to any of y'all as well, that the court was, quote, patently mindful of the manifest inequity of allowing a citizen to invest large sums in reliance on the government's assertions that his proposed activities are lawful, and then once such investment is made, to have such activities unilaterally declared unlawful, end of quote. In other words, the government pulled the rug out from under the operation. After telling them it was okay and after they invested tons of money, the government pulled the rug out of the operation. Mr. Green and Mr. Carter then divested their interest, so Mr. Red owned 100% of that entity, and he filed bankruptcy in Galveston. So, to pause there for a second, two bankruptcies in which the first one, Terry and Rick owned 5% each. The second one, they owned none at the time it filed bankruptcy. Those are the only two bankruptcies where Terry and Rick were in any way affiliated with the debtor, that is the side that owes money. The third bankruptcy was in 1997 by an entity called Gulfside Casino, Inc. And at the time it filed bankruptcy, Terry and Rick had no ownership in it whatsoever. They had sold to a group of investors and had taken a promissory note, just a typical owner financing deal. They'd sold it to the new group. The new group was supposed to pay Terry and Rick back pursuant to the terms of a promissory note. Well, they quit paying. So Terry and Rick had to sue them to get them to pay them. And when they did, the new investors filed bankruptcy. So in that one, Terry and Rick were like the bank in a bankruptcy. They weren't the ones that filed bankruptcy. They were the ones that were owed money. And the way that bankruptcy actually resolved, Terry and Rick never got paid that money, but they got the business back. The new investors basically said, tell you what, we can't pay you, but we'll give you the business back, and y'all run it. And that's the way that ended. So those are the bankruptcies. They are old. They have no relevance whatsoever to where we sit today and the current condition that Mr. Green and Mr. Carter and their entities are in. We've had an opportunity since 2020 to see with real results, with real data, not projections, what the Arkansas market looks like. We've seen what Oaklawn's done, we've seen what Southland has done, but the most apples to apples comparison is to see what Saracen has done. And Arkansas is a little unique in that it requires these gaming revenue numbers to be publicly reported. So you don't have to guess as to how much money is being generated. You can look at the DF&A numbers that are publicly available and see what these casinos have generated since they began operations following the passage of Amendment 100. And it's our belief that Pope County represents a significantly more, has significantly more potential as a market than does Saracen. And if you just took Saracen's numbers, this project would finance and pay for itself. So respectfully, the financing part of this project is a red herring that has nothing to do with which operator would run the best casino and would bring the best resort and development to Pope County. There was an allegation at one point that Terry and Rick were denied a gaming license in Mississippi. I have a recent letter about a month old from the executive director of the Mississippi State Gaming Commission that states as clearly as it possibly can that Terry and Rick have never been denied licensure by the Mississippi State Gaming Commission. Be happy to share that with anyone who would like to see it as well. The next thing we've heard that I'd like to address is a contention that's gone around town that all Gulfside was going to build back in 2020 when it had the license was a small facility, a small annex facility on the property that Gulfside had options on at that time. I don't understand how this story got legs, but I've heard it from several different sources, so I did think it would be important to bring it up. I have with me today a copy of the Planning Land Use Review that was prepared by the City of Russell Planning Commission staff in June of 2021. This is not our document. This is a document prepared by the Planning Commission staff. And it states, the use of the property being proposed is to allow construction of a casino gaming facility. The facility includes 2 buildings, the main gaming facility, and an annex building. The main facility includes a gaming floor, restaurant, a hotel with breakfast area and outdoor pool. The annex gaming facility will operate only until the main facility is open, where the gaming operations will move to the main facility. This was clearly what was proposed before the Planning Commission back in the summer of 2021 when Gulfside had the license, included a smaller temporary operation so that we could get operations underway and start generating revenue both for Gulfside and also for tax revenue based upon the license that we had while the main facility was underway. It would have the added benefit of allowing us to train employees. You know, people don't, the people that work at casinos are very well trained. I'm sure if any of you have been to a casino, you see the operators of the various games that have to know all the rules of the games and understand the odds and understand who's paid what and what's going on at all times. That takes time and training, and so the temporary facility would have served that purpose as well. So just to be clear, it's pretty well settled in the record that the small facility was never going to be the only facility. It was going to be a temporary operation until we could get the main facility up and running. That kind of ties into, I think, the last point I'd like to preemptively rebut, and that is that Gulfside's the cause of the delay. You know, y'all voted in August of 2019 to give a resolution of support in favor of our competitor, and the contention made then is that we caused the delay. That's just not accurate. We were awarded the license on July 30th, 2020. Gulfside had the license at that time and was prepared to move forward with building a casino. And the reason we didn't is because other parties filed suit to challenge our license. That was not us bringing a lawsuit to delay this. That was another party bringing a lawsuit against us to challenge the license. Ultimately, the Supreme Court sided with the other side. And I would note, too, at the same time, we brought a lawsuit challenging the qualifications of our competitors. Those two lawsuits were filed at the same time in February of 2021. And the fact that theirs was resolved first, taking our license away, then allowed the courts to proceed with our litigation and get us to where we are today. But I think it's manifestly unfair to say that we're the cause of the delay when we had the license initially and someone else sued us to take it away from us. So those are all the points that I would like to make. I want to thank you for your time again and giving me the opportunity to present before you. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that the court may have, or the judge, or counsel, or the clerk, anyone.
Ladies and gentlemen of the court, if you do have questions, just please be recognized, and then we'll go in whatever order you wish to be recognized. Justice George.
All right, thanks for your information and presentation you gave. You answered some of the questions I already had, so that limits the amount of things that I'll continue to ask you. You mentioned the construction phase and what was initially proposed with the smaller building and going forward. If you're awarded the license, describe for me what your construction phase would be this time around.
The application that we put together, the proposal that we have does not have a temporary site in the proposal, and so we would plan to proceed with the main facility just as soon as we get the license, after the ballot initiative has run its course, as we represented in our economic development agreement.
I've got a couple more, if I can just keep going.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm prepared to ask about the financials and the bankruptcies, but you took care of that as well. And after Mayor Lee's comments, a lot has been made in social media and different people commenting about the presence in the community over the last 5 years, and some being here, some not. I'd like to hear maybe your position on where you fall with regard to that.
Sure. So I would say at the outset that when we had the license, we also had an office here, a presence here that we no longer continued to have after the license was taken away. I would note that I think it's a bit of a difficult comparison, because our competitor has a market that includes Russellville. So every dollar that's spent promoting the casino that our competitor hopes to build here also serves the dual function of promoting the casinos that they have within short driving distance from here as well. So I don't think it's quite an apples to apples comparison. I would say that the best way to judge Gulfside's involvement in the communities in which they operate is to look at our involvement in Gulfport. If you talk to people in Gulfport, the mayor, the city council members, they will tell you that Gulfside is the best community partner that they have, and is engaged in absolutely every civic endeavor that is undertaken in Gulfport. And you may have seen, we have a website, rivervalleycasinoresort.com. On that website, there's about a 3.5-minute video on the homepage. And the video includes interviews not only with employees of Gulfside who talk about their experience working for Island View, but it also includes interviews with members of the community, members of the city council, who I think give very compelling testimonials about how involved Gulfside is and how appreciative they are. So that's what we want to bring to Russellville if given the chance. And I think that is the best way to judge the type of partner we'll be to the community.
I've got one more, then I'll yield to anyone else. So, to the rest of the court, the community, it's been no secret where my position has been on the casino since everything started. And it looks like we're coming to the point now where we need to make a decision and consider options, where we're at, what's going on. Convince me that I should or give you consider your application for the license or this resolution in support of you this evening.
Are you asking Justice George to make that in comparison to the other option on the table? That's kind of an elephant in the room.
And one thing I'll give you and the Gulfside folks credit for. I've seen a lot of social media stuff, a lot of stuff going on, from especially lately. You seem to the information I've seen, you're standing on your merits, you're putting your information out there, what's going on. Other than what I've seen on social media and what you presented tonight, is there something you could tell me that would make me give consideration to supporting the casino when I've not?
So I appreciate that question, Justice George, and I guess I'd try to answer it like this. I think in your position as a JP, obviously you have a duty to act in the best interest of the county and your constituents. It's our position that our proposal is superior to the other proposal on the table. I think what you alluded to in your comments a moment ago speaks to the fact that we have never thrown mud at other parties. That's just not how we operate. There have been a lot of mud thrown at us. I think, frankly, all of it is either unfounded or unwarranted or both. But it's not. We're not in the habit of running others down. But I would say, in comparison, our proposal includes more for Pope County. It includes more of an initial investment. It includes more in the EDA. It includes more jobs. It includes more growth, and it includes a component that allows the city to address a longstanding issue as well. So that would be reason number one. Reason number two, as differentiated from our competitors, we don't have any other casinos in this market. Terry and Rick's only casino is in Gulfport, Mississippi, which is not in the same market. So we have every incentive to grow this market as big as we possibly can. The Island View Resort and Casino in Gulfport, I don't know if y'all have been there, but it's an impressive facility. It includes 2 gaming floors. It has the largest gaming floor in the state of Mississippi. It's got almost 1,000 hotel rooms. Terry, from day one, believed he could build something like that here. So respectfully, we feel like we have more incentive to grow this market absolutely as big as we possibly can. And then third, to your point about being about what your position's been throughout this, our EDA respects the will of the voters of the state of Arkansas in that we say and represent and commit that we will not commence operations until the voters have had a chance to speak as to the ballot initiative that's in process, and that if they do speak, we'll accept that and move on. So those are the points that I would make in response to that question. I appreciate that question.
One last comment. Just thanks for your responses and questions I've asked, and maybe I said my position, but that's also been the position of the constituents in my district as well.
Certainly understand
through the only vote we've had on the issue, and I've tried to represent them while I've been here.
Yes, sir.
Justice Sparks.
Yes, Mr. Castleberry, the mayor indicated earlier that all of the mayors in the county had been very involved in vetting. How did you feel the process went as far as your involvement in the vetting process with the mayors of the county?
Well, I don't really know how to answer that, Justice Sparks. We've not been aware of a process that would have involved any sort of formal presentation or vetting. We have spoken with, I know I've personally, I can't speak to everyone that my team has spoken to. I know I personally have spoken with the mayor of Russellville and have talked to him about the issue with respect to the land. talked to the bond attorney who handled that that bond issuance from the outset, and I thought the Mayor Russell was as.
How about the other mayors in the county who?
I personally have not had interactions with them, Justice Sparks, so I
So
couldn't.
the vetting process, I'm trying to figure out what the scope of this vetting process was, and who all was included.
I think you
So
have to ask
some of the
mayors.
operators weren't included, i.e. Gulfside?
I guess I could say it this way, Justice Sparks. To my knowledge, Gulfside's never been invited to participate in a vetting process with the mayors.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Justice Haney.
And I think you sort of covered this a little bit earlier, but I just want to reiterate. Your current proposal, it's going to require, do you have the cash to pay for everything?
No,
or
sir, it'll require.
It'll require financing?
Yes, sir.
And that's going to be by Wells Fargo, you mentioned that a while
Yes, sir.
ago.
Yes, sir.
But you are going to have to borrow money?
Yes, sir.
To do all this. Okay, let me ask you this. How much have you contributed as a company to nonprofits and community events in the last 5 years in Polk County?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, Justice Haney. I know we have contributed to various things in the county, but I couldn't even
Yeah.
venture a guess.
How much have you paid in property taxes in the last 5 years? Now, I know you may have bought some property or got some options on some property, but you haven't paid any?
I'm just trying to think through whether there'd be any property taxes in connection with the options that we purchased. I don't think there would, but other than that, I don't think there'd be any
Yeah.
property taxes.
How much property have you already purchased in the last 5 years?
We have not purchased property. With property
You haven't even
options.
purchased any?
No, sir.
Okay. And where are your offices located here? You said you had some time, you don't have any now?
We do not have an office
You
here
don't have
now.
any now?
No, sir.
I guess that's all I had right now.
Thank you, sir.
Let me ask you this, too. How many states do you operate in?
Just Mississippi.
Just Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
How many foreign countries?
None that I'm aware of.
None that you're aware of?
No, sir.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions of the court?
Yes, I have a question.
One moment, please. So we have hit our 30-minute mark, so it'll be up to the wishes of the court whether to proceed. What is the will of the court? I just want to afford everybody equal opportunity.
I
So,
think in my opinion, I mean, it's a big deal. If somebody's got a
Okay.
question, they ought to be able to have the opportunity to ask it.
so as a matter of a voice vote, all in favor of extending this time of Q&A, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Justice Sauer.
So in this new proposal, can you tell me how many phases you have for the entire project? I know in your previous proposal, there are multiple phases. Can you kind of?
That's a good question. I should have addressed that in my opening remarks because that was brought up earlier. Our new proposal is all one phase. There are no additional phases in the application. However, having said that, we do intend for this to be the beginning and not the end. We want to grow it from this. But what we've proposed and what you have before you is what we intend to start with.
Okay. So do you have the EDA money right now, or do you have to borrow that as well?
Yeah, we have the EDA money.
Okay.
I had one question.
Justice Tarpley.
I think everybody has asked most of the questions, but there's a significant amount of difference between the jobs listed on the two proposals. Can you kind of break those down a little bit as to, are those all going to be hired from here, or?
So the 1,695 jobs, is that the number you're looking at, Justice Tarp?
Yes.
So those are the permanent jobs. So that's how many people will be employed once we're fully up and running with the proposal that we have today. Hopefully we would grow from that, excuse me. Hopefully we would grow from that, but that represents what the employee total would look like at that point. In the construction phase, there would be jobs in addition to that, all the construction jobs that would come in for that. But the 1,695 is what we project to be the full employee census once we're up and running with what we've proposed here.
Do you have any idea of how many of those will be moved here versus?
I don't.
right here?
I think we're gonna. I mean, if what we've done at Gulfport is an indicator, it'll mainly be from local folks and hopefully attracting new folks to the area, as any good business development would do. But we'd like to hire local for sure.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Justice Ivey?
Mr. Castleberry, you indicated, I think I heard you correctly, that, that right now on the table, there is a potential ballot issue out there that nobody really knows, what's gonna occur that. So what, you indicated that you guys are looking at, basically to see what that happens. And so when would you begin the process of course, if I'm assuming if you were to perpetually get a license, you would start the process and see what happens with that ballot issue, and you're saying if it passes, or even before then, you're not gonna do anything to fight it.
That's
You're
correct.
basically not gonna have anything to do with it.
That's
Is that
correct.
accurate?
That is correct. We would not oppose it. And if you have the EDA before you, I would direct you to the bottom of page 7, item D, addresses that. We put that in writing as part of our contract to show the seriousness of that commitment.
That was where, I'm sorry, Mr. Casper, where
Page 7, item D,
Item
5D
D.
at the bottom of page 7.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. And as I'm sure this court is well aware, because of the constitutional amendments that have been passed that affect Polk County, it's a complicated process. They have to, the proponents of the amendment have to submit a certain number of signatures by July 5th, and then if they get that done, they qualify for a cure period to submit some more signatures or fix any signatures that were problematic. And then ultimately, if they make it all the way to the ballot, it'd be voted on November 5th in the general election.
But you're telling me basically you wouldn't fight that either way?
We're not fighting. We're making a commitment to not fight that and to wait to see how that plays out before we commence operations. Which, we're in June right now. It's not. We're going to know before too long.
We're gonna know in a
we
couple
might
of
know.
weeks, right.
We might know July 5th. Whether
Right.
enough signatures are submitted. So we're talking about not that long a time period in the overall scheme of things.
Right, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question?
Justice Haney?
Last Wednesday, Mr. Green stated, as a matter of fact, that he had an option on lakefront property, later identified as the City of Russellville Convention Center property. Specifically, and I quote, Mr. Green, we just think with the water and that view, and I-40 sits right there with 30 to 40,000 people coming through there a day and come by that location. We love that location, and we have an option on it. But when we check with the mayor's office, we don't find no option. And if you do have that option, we would like to see that. On that particular land, I know you had some out there that you had bought. So in order for that to happen, you would have to have a letter of support from the mayor.
Correct.
Do you have that?
We do not have a letter of support from the mayor. It's my understanding that if this court gives a resolution of support, that the mayor would be open to granting a letter of support. Because if there's going to be a casino, I think Russellville would.
So you really don't have an option on it now then?
We have an option on property that fits the description that Mr. Green stated. We do not have an option on the city's property. We have an option on other property that sits adjacent to the city's property that meets the description that Mr. Green made in that comment.
I have one more question too, sorry. On your first proposal, y'all didn't have an EDA agreement, so how come this time all of a sudden you have one? Is it just to compete with the others?
We think competition makes for a better ultimate result for the county, and so that we in order to compete have brought forward what we believe is a very strong EDA and believe it hopefully will merit your consideration.
Well, I mean, if you wanted to be someone who we picked or wanted to be a part of the community and wanted to help the community in that way, why didn't you do it in that first proposal? Why did you wait 5 years and do it now?
Well, we still think that our first proposal, and this was borne out before the Racing Commission, because of the project that we proposed versus our competitor, would have generated more tax revenue to more than make up the difference of what their EDA was. but it was apparent that in order to garner support at this time with that EDA on the table, we'd have to come up with an EDA to match or beat what they had.
Okay.
Comment.
Justice Sparks.
Just a comment, I think it's very disappointing that tonight we don't have 5 or 6 presentations. But I talked to operators who said that they would love to, given a presentation, but we're told that, hey, well, you can do it, but it's already decided. And that's just a comment on my part. The more you've got different operators bidding, the better deal that ultimately is going to be on the table if we in fact end up with a casino. I'm obviously still opposed to a casino. I've signed the petition. I can get a petition if anybody wants to sign one. But I still want the people that I represent that at the end of all this, if there is a casino, that I can look at them and tell them that, hey, we got the best deal that we possibly could have gotten. And at least tonight, we've gotten a better proposal here from Gulfside than what we have had from the other operator. So, I mean, competition, as somebody stated, is good.
All right, any other questions from the justices? If not, let the record reflect we're at 3901. And
Judge Cross, for the record, I just would also like to say we have a signed copy of the Economic Development Agreement signed by Mr. Green and myself that would proffer at the appropriate time.
yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Castleberry. All right, this time we'll present item number 2, which is an update presentation by Cherokee Nation Business. Whoever's going to speak on their behalf, please come to the podium. Mr. Chuck Garrett.
Good evening. First and foremost, I want to thank this body for your recent resolution of support endorsing Cherokee Nation Entertainment. Judge Cross, I'd like to thank you as well for your unwavering support and also your endearing commitment to economic development in Polk County. And Mayor Lee, thank you and the 4 other mayors of Polk County for your vote of confidence. I'm Chuck Garrett. I'm the CEO at Cherokee Nation Businesses. Cherokee Nation Businesses is a global company with over 10,000 employees working in 25 countries. We're generating over $2 billion of revenue annually. Our gaming and hospitality company, Cherokee Nation Entertainment, is a company, a regional company, that has over 30 years experience of providing first-class entertainment to their guests. Over that period, C&E has deployed over $1.5 billion in assets, which generate almost $1 billion annually. We currently own 10 casino and entertainment venues across Oklahoma and 1 entertainment casino in Mississippi. We recently purchased, during this process, we recently purchased the Gulfside Casino and Resort in Tunica. And as you can see on this map, the Polk County Casino, it will be a vital part of our regional growth strategy. While we are a global company, we have invested locally. We have contributed over $500,000 to local nonprofit organizations, and we have volunteered over 1,000 hours to support their causes. Moreover, we have spent $40 million in out-of-pocket cash to purchase 325 acres of land, which will serve as a setting for Legends Resort and Casino. In fact, just yesterday, we submitted our fully qualified application to the Arkansas Racing Commission and look forward to meeting our community commitments as well as funding our over $300 million development with cash on hand. Again, I want to thank each of you all for your support and for making us Polk County's trusted development partner. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. Members of the court, they, same thing, they were afforded the opportunity for Q&A, so anybody wish to ask questions of Mr. Garrett?
I'll start again if that's okay.
Justice George.
All right. We heard in the earlier presentation about the position that they were taking with regards to the ballot initiative. My question is, in the past efforts and moving forward, will CNE or Cherokee or Legends expend any man hours, dollars, or efforts to oppose the citizen initiative to have a voice in whether they have a casino in their area or not?
Yes, we're not in favor of the current petition that is being circulated. As you know, in 2018, the voters of Arkansas voted on this issue, and we have, as well as others, have invested heavily in reliance of that outcome.
Okay. Well, that takes care of the next.
Justice George, I might add a little flavor to that. While we are not funding any opposition, we do have a ballot question committee, and it's providing voter education as to what's really going on, in our opinion. And I think evidence tonight, you'll even see, you hear the local voters were not in support of casinos here in Polk County. The sentiment has changed. I think you'll see after tonight's meeting, by count of this quorum court, you could potentially have 11 quorum court members supporting a casino of some type in Polk County. But one of your previous questions was, how would I convince you that you don't want a casino, your constituents don't? I wouldn't try to convince you. And that's evidence in the relationship I built with you. I haven't called pressuring any of the quorum court members. I need you to do this. I need you to do that. We've been open, we've been honest, and we respect your position. That's how I'd answer that.
I'm just, thanks for those comments. I'm just curious if we truly believe the sentiment has changed, why expend any efforts to try to oppose another opportunity for the voters in the state or the voters in the county to let their voice be heard?
It's not an opposition. It is educating the public on some of the inconsistencies that have been propagated in their attempts in gathering signatures, falsely stating this is to bring more casinos in the state. And while this particular ballot initiative is titled Local Voters in Charge, its real purpose is to repeal Polk County from Amendment 100. Oh, and by the way, in the future, if another casino were to come, it would include a vote of the local people. Very misleading. Very misleading.
So it wouldn't give Polk County a local vote at all. Basically, the state is voting just to take us out,
That's correct.
which isn't, in my opinion, a vote of the people. We are not actually getting to choose whether, yes, we want it or no, we don't. It's just to take it out completely. Because
State
there's,
voted to put us in, so.
well, I know, but I'm just saying that that's what's misleading about it. A lot of people think they're actually getting to say yes or no when that's not what this ballot is about, in my opinion.
Justice George, you had another
It's
question.
opinion.
Yeah, I
Yes.
know.
We've all got those. All right. So you took care of that. One other one, I guess a couple more. My understanding of the EDA that's been proposed earlier tonight, there's not the exclusivity clause where if this body should issue a letter of support, well, there's already been one issued for you, and they're bringing theirs tonight. But if something should happen and a resolution of support is given in favor of the opponent, your opponent, then unless the language changed in your application that was submitted yesterday, correct? Unless something changed, you have the option to pull that EDA out. It almost feels like, to me, I'm being strong-armed to vote or not vote one way or the other.
Well, I'm sorry that you feel that way. It is a exclusive EDA. We have the right but not the obligation. We can do, we can make the decision as facts come out and as the process plays out. We can retain that commitment and unilaterally fund the EDA. That's something that we'll just have to evaluate as we go along here and see what the process, how the process plays out.
One last question, and I'll yield my time to someone else. As I mentioned earlier, and it's probably my last meeting in this position, representing the constituents I represent in Russellville, but all of the people I represent live within the city limits, and the earlier EDA completely left the city of Russellville out. Is that still what was presented in your application today for the EDA to? And I'm not talking about the tax revenue. I'm not talking about the other. I'm talking about the direct payments, upfront payments to the communities.
The terms of the EDA have not changed. Judge Cross has made commitments to earmark certain funds to Russellville. But that's with the judge's discretion, but the EDA terms have not changed.
Would that mean that if the amount of the EDA didn't increase, does that mean that some of the money some of the upfront money that's going to the county would now go to the city of Russellville?
No.
Okay. If the term hasn't changed and Russellville's getting something now, that money has to come from somewhere, correct?
Correct. Within the EDA, there are certain entities, certain aspects of the resort, and those things can all be modified in the EDA. As we've all discussed, I mean, the EDA will have to be modified for the acquisition of the Ashurion building.
Right.
So we went through all that. So when that time is appropriate and the license is issued to whoever, then that's when the EDA can be, manifested to however we need to adjust it. So.
And just to add, we've had extensive discussions with the mayor of Russellville regarding annexation, and we have from the beginning volunteered. We're happy to volunteer for annexation. So we have had those communications very recently, as recently as the last several weeks. So that is not the intent to exclude Russellville. We're welcoming the opportunity to become part of the community and to welcome and volunteer for annexation.
Okay. I appreciate your comments and thank you for coming here tonight and going through this again. Thank you.
Justice Sparks was next.
Yeah.
Justice Sparks.
I was born in the Show Me state, and it seems to me like somebody getting the short end of the stick on what Justice George brought up. I don't quite understand how we're moving this money around. I'm in the city too. I represent District 9. And your initial proposal here doesn't include anything. If we could just spend another couple minutes on that and going back to that, I may have missed how the city's going to get some money.
Well, and as Casey outlined, the property taxes that we've already been paying,
No,
by the
I'm
way.
talking about money that would come up front, sort of.
Our EDA the terms of our EDA has
So-
not changed. I mean, it's been the same thing since 2019.
I'm just wondering where that money's going to come from. That's
No,
all.
I'm just saying, our EDA
And
terms have not changed
okay,
since
you
2019.
made it clear that
Okay.
y'all aren't doing it, but which of these entities is going to get shortchanged?
None of them.
don't quite get it. Moving on, last time the application was submitted in, I guess, the name of Legends, that apparently was a problem with the Racing Commission or Supreme Court or somebody. Whose name is it going to be in this time?
It has been submitted under the name of Cherokee Nation Entertainment. Legends is simply a brand. It's not the entity, it's not the licensee, it's not the applicant.
How did you correct the situation where the finding was that you all had not been or Legends, there had not been a qualified operator? Did the purchase in Tunica have anything to do with that?
Our purchase in Tunica was Cherokee Nation Entertainment, just like, I mean, we have 30 years of experience in gaming with Cherokee Nation Entertainment. We own 11 casinos. So that's our gaming company. Hard Rock Hotel and Casino in Tulsa is a brand owned by Cherokee Nation Entertainment.
So what changed it so that?
Cherokee Nation Entertainment owns Gold Strike. Gold Strike is the brand. Cherokee Nation Entertainment would own the casino here, branded under Legends.
Okay. That's all.
Justice Sparks, I might add a little color to that as well when you ask what has changed. Nothing has changed. It was the fact that our application had Cherokee Nation businesses and Legends on the license that was issued at the request of the Racing Commission that they deemed that represented two licenses. There was also a challenge that we didn't have the prerequisite 30 years of gaming experience because Cherokee Nation businesses didn't, Cherokee Nation Entertainment did. So they did not follow the ownership change. It was another legal maneuver that they found to be by the law. And so we have amended where the entity that has the 30 years of experience more than meets any requirements in the Racing Commission rules and regs via the application. Those have been perfected.
Okay. Thank you.
Justice Ivey, you were.
Yeah, Mr. Garrett, if you could clarify for me, maybe
Sure.
I misunderstood what you said. When you were talking about the EDA a moment ago, you said something about having to be reevaluated as far as, I'm assuming, so is this EDA clarify to me, because I don't understand. Is this EDA to be paid out in one lump sum up front, and then, or when you use the term, it's going to be looked at and reevaluated and potentially paid out here or there? I'm confused as what you meant when you said
Yeah,
that.
I apparently, sorry for the confusion. We're going to pay $38.8 million up front. There'll be $2.1 million paid annually to identified entities that are outlined in the EDA. So that, that's what beneficiaries do with that money is up to them, obviously. And so, but we're not proposing a change to the EDA. We're not shifting anything around. We're going to pay per a very detailed economic development agreement.
So that leads me to another question that may be suitable more for the judge to answer, I don't know, because anything that's paid out, this has been negotiated on a county term, so that all has to theoretically come through the Quorum Court, correct? Any revenues that are paid out based on county negotiations? In other words, if the county has said that we're willing to agree to this, then that has to come through the county. But the way that EDA is written, it says that this entity, your company, is going to pay directly to these entities. To me, there's an issue there, because it's been negotiated for yourself as a representative of the people in the county, if you read the definition. So that means that money has to come into the county and it has to be redesignated by the Quorum Court. I may be wrong on that, but I don't think so.
I think since the payments are directed to either entities of local government or nonprofits, the payments can be direct.
Well, but how would, for example, since you negotiated, I'm not picking on you, just you're the one that negotiated it. How do you negotiate for somebody else as the county rep? In other words, that they're going to pay to this city or they're going to pay to this organization. So I'm concerned about the flow of money as to the proper channels where it needs to go, because if it was negotiated with someone from the county representing it, then it theoretically has to come through the county. Because all revenues, and that would be considered a revenue, I would think, I may be wrong about that. All revenues must come through the quorum court. That's one of our two biggest jobs is designations of funds. So just a question to look at and consider and how that's really gonna work and is it gonna be a problem?
Okay.
And I just want to say, I don't know who the proper one to ask would be, so.
I'll defer that to our county attorney, and we can get you a response.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Garrett, Justice Ivy?
No, I'm good.
Okay. Justice Motley was the next up.
I just
Justice
want
Motley.
to backtrack a little bit in the discussion that you were having about the education for the petition. So I wanted to share a personal experience. My husband and I, about a month ago, were at Sam's at Conway, and there was a couple of young men that coming to talk with us, and it's obvious they had clipboards in their hand. And I said, I bet, you know, that's some of the petition gatherers. And so we stopped and talked with them, and one of the young men asked where we were from. And when Alan said Polk County, he jumped up and down and twirled around and was as excited as a kid at Christmas. And he said, this is who we're working for, is for you. We're getting a casino into Polk County for you. And so we continued the conversation a little bit, and I said something about Amendment 100. So the petition was in a clipboard, and they had the clipboard that they were then asking people to sign. But then there were 2 more pages. So I said to him, I said, do you have another copy of that? And he said, yes, very gracious, very good, nice young men. And by that time, there was no one else around. It was just he and I talking. And I said, let's look at this. Let's turn over to page 2 and to page 3, and let's read this. Because when I said to him something about Amendment 100, he said, I don't know anything about that. That's not what this is about.
Judge.
This is to give casinos to Polk County. So
That's not a part of.
Justice Sparks.
That point
it's
of
not.
order. That's
I
not a
wanted
part
to.
of-
I wanted to comment that I
That's not a part of
appreciate
their
that someone
presentation.
is trying to do education for those petitioner gatherers, because they obviously didn't know what they were representing, and they were very upset.
Justice Motley. This might be better for the discussion under item agenda, I think, 8.
I just was
Because
commenting.
this was supposed to be
on
a
the-
question,
On the
so.
education. I'm happy that someone's doing education, because the collectors that we talked to were not educated.
Okay. Justice Sparks had a question next.
No, I just had a point of order that wasn't a part of the presentation.
I've just got one.
Well, yes, Judge,
Justice Sparks.
when would the upfront money, when would that transfer to the county occur?
Well, under the EDA, it talks about material litigation and administrative objections and hearings. That's going to be something that we want to evaluate as we go forward. Litigation, I'm sure, will follow whatever decisions are made. We'll evaluate those. Our intention, as seen by purchasing 325 acres, spent $40 million on land to build a casino. So we're looking forward to building a casino as quickly as possible. And so we will not obviously be starting that without paying the $38.8 million that we owe under the EDA. So whether that's in 3 months or 5 months, you know, that's going to be in part up to the Arkansas Racing Commission.
But if you had the license, if it were to be issued to you, you don't know when that $38 million would be issued.
Well, it's going to be issued per the Economic Development Authority.
But
Economic
you said there are all
Development
kinds
Agri-
of different
No, there's
negotiations.
two qualifications. If there is litigation that is pending, the idea was you don't give a party $38.8 million.
I
only to
understand
have-
that.
So that's really we think there's not going to be material litigation as a result of this that is that has merit.
So if all material litigation ceases?
Yes, sir.
No more,
We're writing a
About-
$38.8
about
million
when would that
check.
38 million.
We're ready to write that check, a $38.8 million check, cash on hand as soon as we get a license, and we're able to assure ourselves that any pending litigation is without merit.
Thank you.
Justice Sparks, let me clarify that. The EDA says 30 days.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
so, within 30 days of a clean license.
I remembered that.
And know that. And we also clarified the question about revenues coming in. Only the revenue distributed to the county is under the purveyance of the court. All the other entities would be paid direct.
Yeah, what generated my question was when there was some discussion there that said something about negotiation and so forth. Well, that made me think, wait a
30
minute.
days, yeah.
I just got a quick question.
Justice Haney.
You guys have already bought like 335 acres. So, of course, a casino's not gonna take up that much space. Can you give us a short synopsis of what's in plan for that other acreage around there? What do we?
Well, yes. I mean, what we wanted to do is have the casino and resort act as an anchor, which would give us an opportunity to evaluate either retail development, housing development, other forms of commercial development, so that we have a thriving area around the casino without some of the, without some development that would be undesirable. So we did that so that we could have a planned development, so that we could be thoughtful and strategic about what our neighbors were doing and who they were.
Right.
I've got one more real quick.
Justice George.
Going back to the question around the ballot initiative, and I understand opposition, or maybe not, and the eagerness to build. So, all this license issue could come to a quick resolution, maybe before we know what the outcome is on, one, getting enough signatures, and assume that enough signatures are gathered and it's placed on the November ballot. Are you gonna go ahead and start building since you're eager to get started, or are you gonna wait and see what happens with that?
Yeah. We're going to evaluate it as we go along. I can't really answer that. There are so many scenarios, frankly, hypotheticals that we could describe. All I can tell you, in all honesty, we're going to evaluate it along the way. We are prudent business people. We don't just say, to heck with it, and damn the torpedoes, if you will. We're going to be very thoughtful and strategic about it, but that's about the most honest, response right there.
Thank you, and I recognize that, because it would be a questionable business decision to start building something, and then a few months later have the license rescinded, and you're stuck with
also known as a career limiting move, right there. So.
Thank you.
One more.
Justice Sparks.
Ms. Garrett, is Legends still going to be involved in the entertainment part? The company Legends?
Yes, and I'll defer to my colleague, president of our entertainment company, to get more details, but the short answer is yes.
Yeah, as you're aware, Legends is was referred to as a hospitality consultant. They're experts at delivering world-class guest experiences. As evidenced through AT&T Stadium, they built, designed, and execute the experiences at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, and most recently, SoFi Stadium. So yes, they will be part of our development and helping us create an even better experience that we have. One thing they are serving as is basically an owner's representative during the construction phase. So they built some monstrosities and done it well. And so we've engaged with them primarily in that purpose.
Reason I asked there, over time, there's been discussion that one of the principals in that group was well known around in these parts.
He is. That company was founded by George Steinbrenner and Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being
But,
diplomatic.
oh, I know, but I wanted to answer your question and recognize. So they are strictly functioning in a consulting role as far as design, development, and execution. We think they're world-class partners, and so they are part of our project.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from the court? All right, gentlemen, thank you for your time.
I have one.
Thank you all.
I have one quick
Yes, sir.
question, please.
Justice Tarpley.
So, looking through this, there is a residual income above the taxes coming back to the county from Cherokee's.
In the form of, are you talking about under the Economic Development
Yes.
Authority? It's a 2.1 million annual recurring fee or fund that we will pay annually. The beneficiaries are outlined, I think, in your chart there.
So it doesn't come to the county, it goes to the direct beneficiaries?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And any last questions?
Moving on.
All right, thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Let the record reflect that was 2839. All right, this time I have 6:50. The court will recess for 5 minutes and reconvene and take up item number 3. They are comfortable.
Yeah, but I mean, they didn't give us one look at the match.
That would be ridiculous. I need some candy.
Quiet understanding, they're not going to actually run the game. This part of it.
They are going to manage of the entertainment.
That's why I wasn't trying to be
Kind of like a Memphis CEO. You didn't run radiology, you had a contract to run radiology. Yeah. I gotta think of that.
I know
How are you, sir?
property taxes and all that. They ain't paying real property taxes.
Well, I was glad you're not leaving everywhere. That I'll do that. Did he get temporarily relocated to Northport?
Are they unemployment? Yes, they are. You heading down to headquarters? I understand. I may sneak by this evening when we get done.
How are you, sir?
I don't want to bump his camera.
Really? No pun, hey, no pun intended. Some people just say. I had doctors that can tell you about anything. Really?
She'll be leathery a little bit later, though. I didn't mean y'all leaving us already? Hey, you ain't leaving, are you? We're seeing over. You know what? How we gonna record it right over there? So we'll just figure it out. I'm sorry, Frank, how we gonna watch this shit on Channel 11 tonight? It's funny, I mean, I can't get to the station somehow. Thank you for coming. Hey, you will.
He says
Get back in here, girl.
Not that you've already been said, I'm just saying.
Mosquitoes have never bit me.
Good.
I didn't realize that.
So you're not thinking about farming.
That's what I was saying the other night. Maybe I will. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. If that don't work, I'm
Maybe closer to the lake.
maybe on the city council. No, I'm moving over behind that one.
That's it. I look those lanes this year. Behind Atwood? That's his.
His runs down the backside of the sky, falls off south.
I hadn't thought of it.
Right in that little corner.
Yep, right in that little corner.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Here we go.
We'll call the court back into session to continue our agenda. Justice Motley.
He's coming.
Okay. Justice Carruthers not here. Okay. We have a full crew. All right. Court's back in session at 6:59. And item number 3 is an ordinance for a title change. Justice Sparks.
Judge, this is an ordinance approving a title change from the office manager to department head and a salary increase, appropriating $4,102.44 from the general fund for the prosecuting attorney's department. This lady has actually been in this job for 31 years, and it's also part of bringing into line with the Federal Labor Standards Act, as I understand, and I would move for its adoption.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Public State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance approving a title change from office manager to department head and a salary increase appropriating $4,102.44 from the general fund for the prosecuting attorney's department.
Discussion or questions?
That figure's an annual figure, right, 4,100?
Yes, sir. Should be matching monies and all. Any other discussion or questions?
Yeah, I have that in the, there you go.
All right, if not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Alan George?
Yes.
Philip Haney?
Yes.
Jackie Heflin?
Yes.
David Ivy?
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock?
Yes.
Margaret Motley?
Yes.
Lane Scott?
Yes.
Jordan Sowers?
Yes.
Bill Sparks?
Yes.
Blake Tarpley?
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg?
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 4 is in direct relation to item number 3. Justice George.
Yes, Judge, this is an ordinance to amend ordinance 2023-0-067. Basically, this is amending the operating budget to account for the salary increases that we just approved. And I call for emergency.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Public State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance to amend ordinance number 2023-0-067, establishing the annual operating budget for calendar year 2024 to make changes to the salary and wages sheet for the prosecuting attorney's department within the general fund and declaring an emergency.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Philip Haney?
Yes.
Jackie Heflin?
Yes.
David Ivy?
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock?
Yes.
Margaret Motley?
Yes.
Lane Scott?
Yes.
Jordan Sowers?
Yes.
Bill Sparks?
Yes.
Blake Tarpley?
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg?
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks?
Yes.
Alan George?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 5 is an appropriation ordinance. Justice Wittenberg.
Yeah, Judge, this ordinance appropriating $2,220.48 from the general fund for the election commission department. This is where they getting reimbursed, and it comes to the county, and we're gonna pass it on to them, and I'll move for its adoption.
Second. Blaylock.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Public State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $2,220.48 from the general fund for the election commission's department.
Discussion or questions? If not, ask clerk to call the roll.
Jackie Heflin?
Yes.
David Ivy?
Yes.
Mary Metz Blaylock?
Yes.
Margaret Motley?
Yes.
Lane Scott?
Yes.
Jordan Sowers?
Yes.
Bill Sparks?
Yes.
Blake Tarpley?
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg?
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks?
Yes.
Alan George?
Yes.
Philip Haney?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 6, an appropriation ordinance. Justice Motley.
Yes, Judge, this is an ordinance appropriating $250,000 from the road fund for the road department, and I move for its adoption.
Second. Sowers.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court County of Public State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance appropriating $250,000 from the road fund for the road department.
Discussion or questions? I think as I outlined, this is due to two emergency bridge replacements.
What kind of deficiency do you think we have in bridges?
Our inventory of county bridges is somewhere in the 130s, and we get inspections about probably 2 to 3 every 2 weeks, and we go out. A lot of them are minor fixes. Right now, I'm actually going through resurfacing a bunch of concrete decks. Pleasant View Road, if you've been out that way, we're resurfacing a bunch of preventive maintenance, but they're all in various degree of decay from the time they're poured. So we have a lot of old bridges, and bridges are very expensive. So I wouldn't have of the 130-something bridges, I do have the 3 priorities of replacement that I've already told the court, and that's Mill Creek, Center Valley, and Griffin Flat. But when something like this comes up, we've had 2 condemned since January, so. And those all of a sudden divert all of our resources to.
And you said a bridge is like, what, 250,000?
No, well, just for instance, the Mill Creek Bridge is probably gonna run about 2.3 million.
Oh, that's right, million.
Yeah, add a 0.
Yeah.
You're condemned, you have to shut them down.
You have to shut them down before the sun goes down. And so, and luckily the past 2, one has been in a kind of a remote area, but it inconvenienced the people in the remote area. The other one on Griffin Flat last month was, I mean, that's a high traffic. And so we were able to replace it with large culvert systems and eliminate the bridge, so. Good questions. Anything else?
Thank you.
If not, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
David Ivy?
Yes.
Mary Miss Blaylock?
Yes.
Margaret Motley?
Yes.
Lane Scott?
Yes.
Jordan Sowers?
Yes.
Bill Sparks?
Yes.
Blake Tarpley?
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg?
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks?
Yes.
Alan George?
Yes.
Philip Haney?
Yes.
Jackie Heflin?
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Item number 7 is an amending ordinance. Justice Heflin.
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance amending the Polk County Personnel Policies and Procedures, and it was last looked at in 2019, looks like, and it's declaring emergency, and I'd move for its adoption.
Will Banks. Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it enacted by the Quorum Court, County of Pope, State of Arkansas, an ordinance to be entitled, an ordinance amending the Pope County Personnel Policies and Procedures adopted by ordinance number 2019-0-073 and declaring an emergency.
Discussion or questions? As you know, we've been addressing these in monthly, we find this and address it, so we've kind of culminated all the changes. I would anticipate the first part of 25, we will bring a new policy manual to the court for approval, and so we can coordinate all these amendments in a fresh new policy manual. And that's what Terry and Larry and I are all working towards. All the elected officials have had a lot of input, and so we're trying to get all this amended and in place to present a whole new policy in 2025.
This is the one that says no evaluations.
Yes, sir.
I'll be voting against it because I believe the employees are entitled to being evaluated on a formal basis yearly.
I got a question.
Justice Sparks.
Justice Heflin, you're from the nuclear plant.
Yes.
Do they do annual evaluations at the nuclear plant?
Yes.
My whole career was in corporate medicine, but we did evaluations every year. I just can't imagine managers not wanting to have on file. There's good reasons. There's employees that are great employees that need documentation that they're great, and there's employees that aren't so great that needs to be documented that they're not. And if something happens, you've got that documentation. And we live in a world of documentation. I'm disappointed that our...
If I can speak on something as an elected official, every one of us, we document good, bad, every day. If you want to look at our employees' files, anything, we address it as it comes up. We address it with the employees. I have in my files anything I've discussed with them. They sign off on it. I sign it. If there's anything, when they have praise things, we put that in their files.
But why would we
we
not
do it
have
on
a
a daily
policy that
basis.
says we do it that way? Is my question. And that's what we're really doing away with. Is that correct?
Well, the current procedures, as I pointed out in that letter, are already addressed in so many other facets within the personnel policy when it comes to discipline, documentation, and the grievance policy. So when this was formulated in 2020, it was all based on receiving a merit raise and rewarding good employees. And that's never occurred. And so when you take away that, when you devalue it to just being a piece of paper that documents, well, we're already doing that, as Pam alluded to. And so the fact that this was designed to reward good employees and to establish a baseline of merit pay that never occurred is the reason that it has
But
become
there's
kind of.
no reason to believe that employees who may not they're not doing a good job, that there's documentation in case you'd ever want to get rid of them.
Oh, we document. I mean,
Yeah.
we do trainings.
But why don't we want to
all
have
through
a
the year.
policy that if we get taken to court and we're in the right,
Mhm.
that we have a policy that says that we do this? I mean, it can work both ways.
Well, and that's what I was saying, though. We go through trainings with AAC and everything, and their attorneys and everything on the documentation part of it. And we document anything we document. We're documenting anything and
Here's the thing, though,
everything.
Pam, you may, but how do we know that everyone does? I mean, you don't, I mean,
And
you
those
gotta be talking for
documentations,
yourself,
though, is
but-
what backs up that evaluation.
Alan,
So-
you're in corporate America. Do you all evaluate personnel?
Yeah, and I've worked for several companies. Everywhere we've been, we do evaluations. Sometimes they're tied to salary increases, sometimes they're not. But it's an annual appraisal, or I say appraisal, it's an annual review of
Yeah.
past performance, whether good or bad, and then the employee knows where they're standing, and and at least in the situations I've been in, if it's below a certain level, then they may be placed on a performance improvement plan, laid out targets and objectives for them to achieve in order to remain employed or avoid further action. So-
Pam, I don't have any doubt in what you're trying, what you're doing with your
Oh, I
employees.
understand.
But, I just can't, we've got, what, 260, 70 employees, and I just think we're big enough that we ought to have policies if the rest of the world does it that way. That's
I mean,
all.
I'll do whatever y'all
I'm
want to
not-
say. I know like our office and most of the offices in the courthouse, I have 7 employees under me. I don't have the luxury to have somebody that's not doing their job to keep that person. And I've learned through Brandy McAllister and everything about this documentation. You want all your I's dotted, your T's crossed. So we make sure we document everything. But that's.
All may not do it that way, is all I'm saying.
Any other discussion or questions? All right, if not, ask the clerk to, you already read it, so go ahead and call
Okay,
the
so
roll.
we're gonna do this one. Okay. Mary Metz Blaylock,
No.
Margaret Motley.
Yes.
Lane Scott,
No.
Jordan Sowers,
Yes.
Bill Sparks.
No.
Blake Tarpley,
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg.
Yes.
Ronnie Wilbanks. Alan George.
No.
Philip Haney.
Yes.
Jackie Heflin.
Yes.
All right, the ordinance
Oh,
fails.
I skipped David Ivy. Sorry. You're gonna have to tell me. David Ivy.
I knew it'd come up sooner or later. Yes.
8-4.
All right, the vote is 8-4. So we will bring this back next month, and, because this was coupled in with a lot of other changes. And so I'd either entertain a motion to approve with all but, or we'll bring it up next month, because there was a multitude of other changes to the policy.
I'm confused.
I'd make a motion all but that one. That was the only one that
But, I mean, this has already failed at this point, so it'd probably be best just to bring it back up at next month. But
Oh, okay.
I just want to let the court know that we've got to bring this back up, because we had a number of other
Yeah.
issues contained in the changes.
There were several highlighted sections in the proposal that was given. It was more than just the
Yeah, there was, everything from payroll,
mileage.
verbiage, vicinity miles.
Vicinity miles,
So-
yeah.
I know we're not in a discussion phase, but can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
I'm just curious, from a litigious standpoint, if for some reason we get sued as a county, whatever, kind of like these deals from the jail, if we have something in writing, if we had to go to court, it would be a better stance than if we didn't have. And the reason I say that is because I have a friend who just lost their job, but there were no parameters or no anything to say, well, you can only do this, or you can only spend this, or whatever. So from a litigious standpoint, it does give us better.
In this circumstance or in any other, the more documentation you have on your, in this situation or any other in litigation, the more documentation or evidence you have to support your position is going to be helpful.
I've been in HR for 30 years, and if it's not documented, it doesn't exist. And to support what you're
Are we saying then what they're doing don't count?
No,
I don't
no,
think it
that
does.
is
No, all
documentation.
we're saying is,
And I
from a
made
county
that
standpoint,
clear.
it's
Right.
much better in a
No.
litigious situation to have your documentation when
Right.
you go to
What-
court. That's
what
all
we're saying is, it's another piece of documentation that could be presented if it
Right.
ever became
Well, I
an
just
issue.
know in law enforcement, if somebody gets in trouble, we wrote them up, put it in their file, and all that. You can do evaluations, but nobody's perfect.
But it gives guidelines to
Yeah,
it.
but
Well,
if they're not.
If I could, ladies and gentlemen, let's just get back on topic.
Okay, I'm sorry.
This issue's already been decided.
I'm
We'll bring it back up next month. Item number 8 is a resolution in support of Gulfside Casino Partnership. Justice Scott.
Yes, I am bringing this resolution in support of Gulfside Casino Partnership. And I move for its adoption.
Second, Ivy.
Have a motion, have a second. Ask clerk to read by title only.
Be it resolved by the Quorum Court of the County of Pope, State of Arkansas, a resolution in support of Gulfside Casino Partnership.
Discussion or questions?
Yeah, I have a statement.
Justice Scott.
In 2018, the majority of us were on the Quorum Court, and most of us then, including the current county judge, agreed that Amendment 100 was wrong, in that it forced Pope County to do that which they had voted against in the statewide constitutional amendment. I have consistently opposed a casino in Pope County from the beginning, and I still do. This position is driven by my desire for good, honest government, as well as seeking the economic and social well-being of the county. Therefore, I'm hopeful of the success of the second statewide ballot initiative to remove Pope County from being forced to have a casino. Since I am opposed to the casino here, you may wonder, why is he supporting Gulfside? The most cynical of my reasons is that I strongly disapprove of the behavior of Legends or Cherokee Nation Business or their latest identity, Cherokee Nation Entertainment. By whatever name, they have vividly demonstrated that they will not be a good community partner. Rather, they want to be a community ruler, opposing the will of the community at every step. In 2018, they spent millions to support a casino mandate in Pope County. In 2022, they spent more millions to hire professional out-of-state petition blockers to harass canvassers, and even paid to destroy petitions with signatures, thus depriving citizens of their constitutional right to petition their government for redress of grievances. By contrast, Gulfside has demonstrated empathy for and support of the will of the community. They have not opposed either statewide ballot initiative. In fact, they have put it in writing that they will not oppose the current initiative. If given the license, they will not begin construction before our initiative goes on the ballot. Furthermore, if the initiative passes and a casino is removed from Pope County on paper, they will honor the will of the voters. C&E has made no such commitments, and their actions have been the opposite of being a good community partner. In summary, Gulfside would run a casino, but C&A would run the county. Another reason I support Gulfside is this. If our county must have a casino, Gulfside has offered the best financial incentives in every category and to every city in the county. This includes the money to be given to Russellville, which C&B Legends shortchanged, and in which all of my constituents live. If the fiduciary responsibility of the Quorum Court and the county judge can be measured by endorsing the highest dollar economic development agreement, we must choose Gulfside. As a JP, I did not previously vote for C&E, but if I had done that, I would feel duty-bound to now also vote for Gulfside, who is offering a better EDA and without sovereign immunity. If I had voted for C&E, even in the absence of them waiving their sovereign immunity, and did not now support Gulfside, I would at best be inconsistent, and at worst I could be personally liable for violation of my legal fiduciary responsibility. If we pass this resolution, it will not automatically prevent CNE from receiving the license, but it will allow them to consider another option. I should have said it will not, okay, so it will allow the Racing Commission to consider another option. Gulfside is the best choice for those of us who don't want a casino. Gulfside is also the best choice for those of you who do want a casino. They are therefore my choice under the current circumstances. And regardless of whether you are for or against a casino, they are your best choice today. I ask you to vote for this resolution.
Any other discussion or questions? Hearing none, I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Margaret Motley,
No.
Lane Scott,
Yes.
Jordan Sowers,
No.
Bill Sparks,
Yes.
Blake Tarpley,
Yes.
Tim Wittenberg,
No.
Ronnie Wilbanks,
No.
Alan George,
No.
Philip Haney,
No.
Jackie Heflin,
No.
David Ivy,
Yes.
and Mary Metz Blaylock.
Yes.
And by a vote of 7 to 5, the resolution fails. All right, item number 9 is your notification of junk value that was assessed by the tax assessor and myself as being junk, and as our notification for the record. At this time, is there any general comments from the public? Let the record reflect there are no general comments from the public. Under announcements, I'm proud to announce that our sheriff has been elected as the president of the Arkansas Sheriff's Association by his peers, and that was a great honor that I was able to attend this week. I'm glad to report Treasurer Holman was released from the hospital and has continued on his vacation, so that's good news for all the prayers that were put up for our great treasurer, Larry Holman. Certainly. We did close out the public auction that was hosted on the internet last week, and I should be getting those tallies to report to you at the July meeting. And but it was very successful. And I know some community events coming up. There's a Veterans Appreciation at noon this Saturday at Veterans Park. And I know that my man Robin had to leave, so we'll probably cover his itinerary at next month's meeting.
Which
So,
will be Mr. Sparks.
yeah. So don't forget, because of the 4th of July, we're pushed back a week in July. So everything, personnel, budget is all pushed back to the second week instead of the first, just the way the holiday falls.
Okay.
Any other comments from the court? If not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
George.
Sowers.
Have a motion, have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7:23.
See you guys.
So our quorum court meeting's on the 11th.
No, I don't.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Johnson.
Thank you.
Casey? Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tim, nice to see you. Thank you. Terry? Thank you. Yeah, I did. I know. I
Thanks for coming. Y'all have safe travels back.
Yeah. Yeah.
You still up? I'm in Texas. Dallas Fort Worth area. Are you still up on the 40 acres? I am. I appreciate you. Yes, that'd be nice. That'd be nice. To some of my jobs. We'll do a little bit of switching. Good Indian.
Move a little bit at a time. Take it easy.
I will. Just to see it, yeah. Let me go back to Marks.
Yeah, we ready to go.
Prosecutor position. One of the things he was doing also working on. So we might be there coming up, and I said, what's the strength of that as well.
All right. Okay. I have your number, yes. Take care.
Yeah, I love you, and I've missed you.
Give your sister a hug. I will. Thank you. Thank you.
Johnny, how are you, sir?
This just happened. Yeah. Our 5-year anniversary is in 5 days. You just reminded me. It's gonna be amazing. Well,